Bienvenido a mi diario de Inglés Británico, un podcast para hispanohablantes que quieren entender inglés británico con confianza y progresar profesionalmente en el Reino Unido. Soy Shandon, coach nativo de inglés británico. Y sí, también hablo español. En cada episodio hablo en inglés británico real y conversacional, para que practiques tu comprensión auditiva y te acostumbres a cómo hablamos los nativos en la vida diaria. En 2018, pasé 3 meses viviendo en Colombia y hoy quiero hablar de mi experiencia ahí. Si eres de Colombia, puede que muchas cosas te resulten familiares. Te recomiendo que escuches este episodio más de una vez. No te preocupes si no entiendes todo. Cada vez que escuches, vas a entender más. Vale, empecemos. Welcome to episode 19 of the podcast. It's great to have you here. Are you ready to improve your English listening? Well, let's get started then. I know that lots of Colombians in England listen to this podcast, as well as lots of Colombians still living in Colombia. So I think you're going to like this episode. Today, I'm speaking about my trip to Colombia in 2018, in 2018, so 8 years ago. I'm going to tell you why I went, what I did while I was in Colombia, and what I liked and didn't like there. So let's get into it. So in January 2018, I traveled to Colombia to spend 3 months there. It was my first time going to Latin America, and it was a completely new experience for me. But why did I go to Colombia? So I studied Spanish at university. I studied economics and Spanish. And so because I studied Spanish, as part of my university degree, I got to do a year abroad. So I had the opportunity to do a year abroad and spend 1 year living and working in Spanish-speaking countries. Before going to Colombia, I had already been to Spain, which I'm going to talk about in another episode. So after that, I decided that I wanted to visit Latin America. And Colombia seemed like a very interesting place to me. So I went and I found an internship in Colombia. An internship is an unpaid work experience. Okay, so I was going to work for 3 months, unpaid, so without being paid, to gain experience that would help me in my career. I worked in a company in Bogotá called Mi Águila, which is a corporate taxi company. So similar to Uber, but your company has to sign up. Then the employees from that company can use the account and can use the taxis. So I spent 11 weeks in Colombia. A lot of the time I was working. From Monday to Friday, I worked full-time and quite long days. What did I do in my job? So I did a lot of data analysis. They had lots of data, so I spent time analyzing the data using Excel. This part was really interesting because I love using Excel. Another thing that I did was phoning taxi drivers to get feedback on the app that the company had created. As I said, the company I worked for was a corporate taxi company. And so they had created an app to help their drivers. So I had to phone the drivers to get feedback from them to see if the app was good or if there were any problems with the app. This part of the job was extremely challenging for a few different reasons. My Spanish at the time wasn't very good. It was okay, but it wasn't very good at that time. So it was a struggle sometimes to understand, especially because the taxi drivers didn't always speak very clearly and they used lots of slang. Plus, the audio quality of the calls wasn't the best. However, this was an amazing way to improve my Spanish, doing these phone calls with the taxi drivers. In this job, I learned lots of great professional skills, and of course, I really improved my Spanish, which was my main goal for being there. So that's a bit about the work that I did there. But where did I live? I had a great opportunity to live in a house with lots of different students. It was a huge house. There were about 30 people in the house. All of them students. Some from Colombia, some from Mexico, also from Peru as well. Plus one person from Italy, one person from Germany, and another person from England. This was a really good experience to live around Spanish speakers my age, spend time with them, form relationships with them. It was a great experience. So what else did I do while I was in Colombia? One thing I did that I really enjoyed was visiting Salento. So that's a town in the coffee region of Colombia, which was a really cool experience. I explored the Valle del Cocora, which is the area with the really tall palm trees. If you're from Colombia, you'll know the Valle del Cocora. If not, you may have seen pictures of it because the palm trees are really tall. I think they're around 50 meters tall. Funnily enough, while I was in the coffee region, I didn't drink any coffee. Not one drop. Why? Because at the time, I didn't like coffee. I didn't like it at all, so I didn't want to try the coffee. Nowadays, I really like coffee, so it's quite funny and it's a shame, but it means I'll have to go back to try the coffee. And so I'll have to visit there again. Also, while I was in Colombia, I went to Santa Marta on the Caribbean coast of Colombia. And I did a trek to the Ciudad Perdida. So a 4-day trek to the Ciudad Perdida. A trek is where you walk from one place to another. And you usually camp along the way. So you camp in tents along the way. This was an amazing, really unique experience. It was something off the beaten track. What does that mean? It means it's not something that people usually do. So if something's off the beaten track, it's less common and it's less touristy, which is what I really liked about it. Finally, I also went to the Tatacoa Desert, a really cool desert in Colombia. I camped there, again in tents, and I did some stargazing. So looking at the stars in the sky, because the skies are very clear there in the desert, and you can see so many stars. It's amazing. While I was in Colombia, I didn't visit any other big cities. I didn't visit Medellin or Cali or Cartagena, for example, because I didn't have time. But that's one reason I really want to go back to Colombia and visit again. So overall, how was my trip to Colombia? It was incredible. I loved it. I loved the Colombian people. The nature in the country was great. The food was incredible as well. And of course, I loved being surrounded by Spanish all day, every day. So as I said before, I really want to go back to Colombia soon. What was my favorite thing that I did in Colombia? Actually, it was something I did on my first day in Colombia. It was a fruit tour in Palo Quemao market in Bogotá, one of the big markets there. I got the opportunity to try lots of fruit that I had never heard of before. Things like chontaduro, guanábana, and lulo. We don't have those fruits in England usually, so it was really interesting to try such different fruits with completely different flavors. I also tried a buñuelo and avena for the first time on this fruit tour, and I immediately fell in love with them. To this day, I still eat buñuelos regularly and drink avena regularly as well here in London. Was there anything I didn't like about Colombia? Not really, apart from the rush hour traffic, which was very busy. The roads were very busy and it took a long time to get home. But apart from that, I had a really great time and I'll always remember my trip to Colombia. So thanks for listening to today's episode. I hope it was interesting and useful for improving your English, particularly for you Colombians listening to this episode. Have a great day and I'll see you next time. Bye. Gracias por escuchar este episodio de mi diario de Inglés Británico. Ya has dedicado tiempo a tu aprendizaje hoy y eso suma más de lo que crees. Poco a poco, tu inglés va a mejorar. Si vives en el Reino Unido y sientes que tu inglés te está frenando profesionalmente, te invito a hacer una evaluación de fluidez profesional gratuita conmigo. En esta sesión, analizo cómo hablas inglés hoy, identifico exactamente qué te está bloqueando y te explico qué necesitas trabajar para hablar con más claridad y confianza. No es una clase, es un diagnóstico claro y honesto de tu inglés hablado. Escríbeme por mensaje en Instagram para reservar tu evaluación. Dejo el enlace a mi cuenta en la descripción del episodio. Gracias y nos vemos pronto. Bye.